Hi, I'm Ian.
And I'm Jason.
And this is Ghosts and Bears, the only podcast where we bring you the actual ghost stories
With the actual history.
in the actual place. On this episode of Ghosts and Bears, we're off to Las Vegas, as well as a few military ships on the way, with our friend Patrick, who is coming to us from that big city where there's lots of lights, lots of gambling, and I'm not gonna lie, some of the best buffets ever. Keep up with us on Ghosts and Bears coming up next. Well, welcome.
Yes, welcome. Let's try this after 10 million takes.
So we've been having hardware issues, software issues, mic issues, which is the reason we're now re-recording this again, and even dog issues, who won't shut up and is exceptionally needy and clingy this evening.
Yeah, that's okay. He's
Good
Moby.
times. Good times. Well, luckily for us, we're talking about the wildest place on earth, which of course is Las Vegas.
Yes.
We've been there.
Yeah, it's Vegas.
And what happened when we went there? You clashed with some wildlife.
Yeah, well, it was, we were watching Red Rock Canyon, and
I think it was our first night.
Yeah, it was, I was going down all these stairs to get some nice photographs, and I was by a tree and didn't realize there was a rattlesnake. I just heard the tail, and then I bolted because I could hear it want to come after me. So I ran up the hill. There was probably a few hundred stairs that I ran up. I bolted right up.
And it was not like it was a cool night.
No.
It was so hot, especially for us Canadians. Jason has helped me survive Vegas by, you don't go to Vegas, and keep in mind, I know people from Las Vegas and Henderson really hate the fact that everyone just thinks of Las Vegas as the Strip. Mm-hmm. It's way more than the Strip. There's the Strip, there's Old Vegas, there's Henderson with lots of stuff going on. Lots of crazy stuff. Like, it's very weird for me to see gambling machines and gas stations.
Yeah, it's very busy.
And drugstores.
There's all sorts of activity going on. It's never ending.
Mm-hmm.
Other than when it was shut down by COVID. That was actually kind of funny.
Which lasted in Vegas for about a week.
Or 5 seconds. Welcome to your freedom, I think was the
expression.
expression.
Oh, man, that was funny when that happened.
Kind of ridiculous. But hey, c'est la vie. So we did one day in Vegas and one day on the road.
Yeah, and that's how we would do it. So because of that, what kind of things did we see out there?
Well, we went to Red Rock Canyon on the one day, and then we did one end of the strip, and then we went out to the Hoover Dam, and then we did
the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, that.
And then we did Bryce Canyon.
Yes.
Yeah, and Zion National Park.
Not Bryce. We did Zion.
Oh, we had Zion. Bryce was another time. We did Zion. And then we also just kind of went out into the desert.
Yeah.
And came up upon Arizona and Utah and Nevada and what was that?
Nevada is a given.
Oh, thank you.
We did Death Valley.
Yeah, it was
great.
So
we were talking about Death Valley and that you get to see roadrunners, and it was hot, very dry.
Very, very, very
And we
dry.
went to the Salton Sea. Mm-hmm. This sounds like a summary since this is take 10.
And the Salton Sea
we're really trying to get this out there the 10th time.
The Salton Sea really surprised me because I'd never even heard of it. And yet it was supposed to be a major place like Palm Springs or something for the rich and famous to go.
Yeah, it was for the Hollywood jet set.
And they were building a whole town around it.
It was an artificial sea. So, it's interesting fact. I mean, you got the ocean, which is saline, salinated water, and then you have seas, which are inland. That's the differentiation. But that's why the Salton Sea existed. It was a man-made lake. So you can go there, and the water has rescinded so bad that the dock is...
It's about 500 feet away from the edge of the water. It's pretty funny.
It's kind of sad. There's
and
only
the town is kind of dried up
of
and blown away too.
Handful of houses there, so...
Oh, there weren't many. And I mean, there were a lot of abandoned houses, and there were just some that were just lots that no one ever bothered to build on.
And speaking of Vegas, it's definitely in the midst of the desert, and basically it's the same thing.
Yeah.
It's just one that made it and Salton Sea didn't.
Yeah, true. Very true.
But if you fly into Vegas, you'll notice that Lake Mead is rescinded so bad. There's just white marks all the way down around surrounding the entire man-made lake. That was not a natural lake either.
No, that was the dam from the Hoover Dam.
Correct.
And what are they finding now that the lake is receding?
Lots of wonderful deceased bodies.
Thank you, the mob.
Yeah. Well, it was a simpler time back then. There was no interest calculations, no collateralized debt obligations, no CDOs, ABSs, MBSs, credit default swaps. None of that existed. Nope. It's you paid or you ended up dead.
Yeah, and
it was a simpler time.
And they're discovering a lot of dead people out there.
Credit default swaps.
So when we were starting to talk about different places where people could call us and talk to us about where they were from, Patrick, who is a retired military member, he was in the Navy, he agreed to call and talk about Vegas, where he lives now, with his family. And so Patrick and I had a great conversation about Vegas and some of the ghost stories, which we covered. We talked a little bit about the old MGM Grand and a couple other places, and then Patrick has some military stories. And then afterwards, I went through a list of the most haunted places in Vegas. So at the end of Patrick's and mine's conversation, we've got a few ones that Jason and I are going to read out and then throw in there for you as well. So with that being said, we will jump into story time.
Yeah, enjoy the story. Thank you, Patrick.
Hey, how are you doing?
Doing very well. How are you, Ian? It's finally great to be able to do this with you after...
I know. Patrick and I have been friends on Instagram for quite a while, and he had mentioned quite a while ago he had some stories. And then when we started doing our fancy new format where we're, not trying to be everywhere at once because we can't, Patrick, you were one of the first people who said, I've got some stories about Vegas. And I'm like, that's amazing. Everyone loves Vegas or hates Vegas. Everyone has feelings about Vegas. And so we're going to talk about that. Now, Patrick, how long have you lived in Las Vegas?
We actually only moved here in 2019. I retired from the Navy in 2014, and I was stuck out in Norfolk, Virginia until that time because that's where I retired out of. And we just...
Right.
My mom lives in Southern California, so it's a 3-hour drive versus a 3,000-mile flight.
I was going to say, yeah, it's quite a bit closer.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, where we live, we're about 3 miles to the east of the Strip.
Okay. And that's something that I think every person in Las Vegas would love for the rest of the world to know. Las Vegas is not the Strip.
No. Oh, God, no.
There's a whole lot more to it than that.
Yeah.
And it's actually quite a beautiful city, and there's a whole lot going on. I was really impressed with it. I really enjoyed it. I don't gamble, but I am absolutely fascinated by Vegas. Mostly, I'm not gonna lie, the buffets.
Oh, yeah.
But also the natural world around Vegas. Nature there is incredible.
It is. You have Red Rock Canyon.
That's where Jason got chased by a rattlesnake.
Did he really? Gotcha.
Yeah, we'll tell that story. Jason's away right now. He's away overnight, but we're gonna tell that story 100% when we're doing this episode because it was way too funny.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, you head out towards the east side of the valley, out towards Lake Las Vegas, and there's beautiful trails out there. Right in the middle of Henderson, there's Whitney Mesa hiking trails, which is like right in the middle of everywhere. You like stand there and just scan the entire, east, north, east side, north side, and looking on over to the Strip itself from there.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's so cool. When we were there, we were in the tail end of a sandstorm, and it was very weird to see what's that pyramid looking
Luxor.
the Luxor covered in sand.
Yeah.
That was really weird. It was a very odd thing to see, but it's things you don't really think about. You just, everyone thinks of Vegas in a certain way, and they don't think bigger than that. And it's quite an interesting place.
It is. There's a lot of history here.
Yes.
Unfortunately,
Yes.
we're also home to that guy's museum.
Yes, Zach.
Part of town too. It's like I deliver Uber Eats here, and that's like a part of town I don't want to get out of my car in.
Really?
Oh, yeah, that's a crappy ass part of town.
Oh no! I did go to the Mob Museum, the Mafia Museum.
Yeah, I've been by there a few times. That's actually in Las Vegas proper.
Yeah. It was very cool, though. Yeah. I'm really glad I went, and it gave me a lot of context in terms of how Las Vegas came to be.
Yes.
And it's interesting because it came, the mob or the mafia came out of America having no drinking prohibition. Yeah. That's why the mafia gained power. And then the same thing has happened now. And I don't mean just America, because it happened here in Canada too. But now, because of that whole war on drugs, that's where all the Hell's Angel stuff came from. Well, so who really are the new organized crime? They're the new mafia. Yes.
Well, yeah. We have the Mongols out here too. So their rival gang.
Oh, yikes. Yeah. No one wants caught in that crossfire.
No. Not at
all. But we are not an analysis of organized crime, as interesting as that is. We are more about the ghost stories, and I believe you have some. You've got quite a few ghost stories, but what I'd like to talk about first is those intriguing Las Vegas ghost stories.
The first one that I have, I'm going to go through the history on it a little bit.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm going to be talking about what is currently Bally's, but soon, by the end of the year, is going to be changed again to the Horseshoe.
Oh, okay.
It just changed hands from MGM to Caesars. I know this because my neighbor is artist. He does, what's the word I'm looking for? He's a graphic designer for the MGM group.
Oh, okay. And now the MGM, there is a famous fire there too,
yes,
isn't there?
That is actually what I will be talking about. It's the fire.
Okay, great.
1980. Actually, we just passed the 42nd. Now, the MGM Grand did move down to the corner of Tropicana and Las Vegas Boulevard on the northeast corner. So big green, has a picture of David Copperfield on it and everything.
Right.
It's actually, the reason why it's called the Grand, it was named after the 1932 MGM film The Grand Hotel. So yeah, that was something I found out doing a little bit of research. The groundbreaking for the hotel was April of 72, and it was completed in December of 73. Now, almost 7 years later, in November of 1980, the fire started in one of the restaurants known as the Deli. The fire was caused by an overheated compressor on a pie display case.
Right. Wow. Yeah. So something pretty generally innocuous.
Exactly. And it started around 7 in the morning. What happened is that it lit and everything. It just exploded. It raced through at like 19 feet per second. So 15 to 19. Ooh. It was due to the PVC.
What was this place made out of? Like paper mache?
It was the PVC, the glue. There were plastic mirrors that they had used. Yeah. So there was.
It's like what we used to do with we used to make like cardboard models and cover them with airplane glue and then light them on fire. Well, because we were firebugs. Yeah. But I mean, it's generally the same principle, right?
Yeah, exactly. Same principle. I mean, it just exploded through the hotel. Most of the deaths that occurred, there's 83 people died, I do believe.
Oh, wow. That's a lot of people for something that most people have never even heard of.
Exactly. Well, actually, this fire did change fire safety rules for hotels around the world. At the time, it still is the third worst fire in U.S. history. Hotel fire.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, it was bad. It was a very bad. I mean, they had the Air Force was in, or because we do have Nellis Air Force Base, the Air Force was in using helicopters to rescue people off the roof.
Holy cow.
And the way it was designed, where the fire raced through, the elevators were directly above that. So all that toxic fume from the PVC and the smoke rose up through the elevator shafts and the ventilation.
Wow.
And that's where most people died on that. Between the 19th and the 24th floor is where it happened. Yeah, so the people, mostly everybody got out. Everybody was fine. Air Force saved over 1,000 people with the helicopters. What they have now is on those floors, guests and employees report hazy apparition of a bewildered woman that fades from view. She's just like she's looking. I think I want to say that's on the 20th floor that happens.
Right.
She probably lost in the smoke.
Yeah, and that's the sad part about like large building fires. It's not usually the fire that gets people. It's the smoke. It's the complete lack of oxygen, and they just
Yeah, I mean,
which is why the building is still there. I mean, in terms of structurally, it was probably just fine.
Yeah,
it was the smoke that killed so many people.
Yeah, there is sadly they don't haunt it that I know of, but there was a young couple that didn't even manage to wake up. Because it happened so early in the morning.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I mean, it's not like Vegas is known for its early morning risers. Like no one's up grabbing the big breakfast special.
Normally staggering out with that last cigarette.
Exactly.
Going, oh wow, we turned the lights off here.
I remember going upstairs to bed one night at like 11, and this old woman was there feeding quarters into a machine, and I came back down around 8:30, and she was still there.
Oh yeah. I mean,
that blew my mind.
If you don't have it when you arrive, and you're not careful about it, crippling gambling addiction is quite near in your future. So
yeah, that's pretty crazy. Okay, so were there any other stories for that hotel?
Let's see. There's one in the main casino floor where the fire just like exploded through. People see against one of the banks of slot machines. They'll see an old woman playing two machines, an elderly woman.
Maybe that's who I saw.
Yeah, exactly. That's probably who you saw. Dressed very eccentrically, and they think that she's smoking a cigarette, but she's playing two machines. And as they approach her, they realize that the back of her dress is on fire. And as they get even closer to her, she just fades away.
And were there people who did die in the fire?
Yeah, she was one of the ones that did die on the fire.
Oh wow! And she, even in death, cannot give up.
Hey, gotta hit that jackpot there on the.
Wow.
Well, nowadays it's penny slots.
Well, yeah, exactly. That's crazy.
Yeah. So, and then there is another one. They do hear a small boy calling for his mother on, I want to say the 23rd floor, but there is an argument about that one that I found during reading up on this, is that they do think that might be the voice of a young woman about 19 years old that did pass away in the hallway looking for her parents.
Right.
So, and it's a young boy, 19-year-old girl, in fear are going to sound close together. So I kind of go with the second one personally. That's pretty much out for that. The Flamingo, this one, we were just talking about how the mob started Las Vegas. Well, what Las Vegas as we know it.
Yeah.
There's not a lot, but it is still said that Lucky Luciano, who built the Flamingo, uh, and was executed because he was skimming.
Yeah, well, don't cross the mob.
Yeah, it is said he still haunts the presidential suite of the Flamingo.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Well, if you're going to haunt anywhere,
Yeah,
I mean,
the suite he lived in. I mean,
exactly.
he built the place, so
I wonder too. I mean, so many deaths occurred there that did not get reported, that did not get any kind of follow up or even acknowledgement.
right.
And now that, you know, Lake Mead is drying up and all these other things, people are starting to find corpses. And I just wonder, how crazy haunted do you think some of those areas are out there where, you know, you could huck a rock and hit another dead body? Like, I just wonder.
Yeah, I mean, actually, where we live at, just like literally right across the street, are larger mid-century modern. So these houses have been around since the 50s. So,
right. Kind of the high rolling time of the mob, really.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, these are very, very large houses. You know, we're talking about
right.
5-6 bedrooms with three bath. You know,
which in the 50s would have been full on mansions.
Oh, yeah. So yeah, I mean, there's got to be. This was not too much further beyond this was desert. You know, because a lot of this stuff, you know, a lot of the looking around, because our place the townhome we live in was built in 78. And so, and right at that time, this was like the edge of paradise.
Sure. Yeah.
So, but
now, are you guys in Vegas proper? Or are you in Henderson, like most of Las
Vegas? We are in Paradise Valley, which is Las Vegas, considered Vegas proper.
Okay. So nice.
We are in the same area that if you do the strip from I want to say below Sahara or south on Sahara, all that is paradise.
Okay.
And then once you actually you go back up a little bit further, then you actually, like, when you get up towards the Fremont experience, you know,
right,
and all that, that's Las Vegas proper.
Okay, gotcha. So it's kind of that side, but if you go kind of, I don't even know what direction, the opposite direction from the airport, you're heading out towards Henderson.
Yes. Yeah, if you're heading south,
got it.
Well, even south, Henderson's huge. It's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's why I said that, because most people, you know, they say I'm from Vegas, but if you're from Vegas, what they're really saying is I live in the Vegas area. I'm actually from Henderson.
Well, my mom lives in Rancho Cucamonga, California, which is very close. And me and my wife always joke about how Henderson is just Rancho Cucamonga with lots of extra heat.
Exactly.
You know, it's like a Los Angeles bedroom community, but with way hotter.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So yeah, okay. So we're casinos. Any other casino stories?
The Luxor, you mentioned the Luxor. I didn't really research into it, but I've heard a lot that I want to say, quote unquote, cursed.
There's something wrong there. I can tell you that. The Luxor is one of the few of the hotels, because I have walked the strip. I walked the strip one into the other in a day, because I wanted to do it. I want to see if I could do it. And it was really interesting, because the strip, you think, oh, it's the Las Vegas Strip. No, it is incredibly different depending on what section you're in. And there's a real difference in energy and feel. And I went into the Luxor, and I was determined to take one of those, not elevators. I forget what they call them. Do you remember what they call them? The sideways elevators. But you know what I mean. They call them something else. And I know someone will email me now and tell me. But I remember going in there and thinking, ooh, this feels not right. And going in one of the sideways elevators and coming out on the floor, and the whole place feels so dark and so off. Yeah. I don't know how else to explain it. It's not somewhere I wanted to spend time in. It's not somewhere I wanted to remain. It just felt so wrong and made me really uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you think about it, what they did with that is they basically, I guess, they consulted, the Egyptian Book of the Dead to build it.
That seems like a really bad idea.
I mean, if you look at it, I mean, it's Luxor. Luxor was, I want to say, like one of the main worship centers for Osiris.
Yeah, and also pyramids were for the dead.
Yeah, exactly.
They weren't for the living. So basically, everyone's just partying it up in a giant tomb, which is never going to end well.
And we're going to try and extract all your money from you.
Well, that is true. I mean, if you're going to try and extract everyone's money, best to have them with their defenses down first.
Yeah. That was...
Also, on the Fremont experience, I just feel there's some weird kinked up energy down there too.
I don't really head down that way that often.
I think there's a good reason for that.
Yeah, I really don't. I'm not trying to plug you. You can take this part out if you want to, but I'm starting a YouTube channel where I'm just going to be doing walking tours of the hotels in Las Vegas.
Oh, I love that idea.
It's, I want to go up there, but at the same time, even just driving by it, because I've driven by it a few times it's just so insane looking.
It is insane looking. I saw a man take a crap on the sidewalk. That was my introduction to the Fremont experience. But there is still some vestiges of old Vegas there, because the Strip is like, that relative you have who has lots of money and she gets lots of plastic surgery.
Yes.
That's the Strip. Yeah. And then the Fremont experience is that other relative you have who lives in a trailer park and has completely given up on life.
Up there, I'm going to start with this one once I do it. It's called the San Franciscan Hotel. It's up by Fremont. And that is the first hotel casino that was opened in Las Vegas in 1906.
Oh, very cool.
So I want to do that one. I want to start with that since it's the oldest one.
No, and please let me know. I'm happy to plug that. I mean, I think that's amazing. Yeah. Anything with history, I'm in. I mean, that's part of why we're doing this. Is not just about ghost stories. It's also about building community. And I think anything with history is worth.
Yeah, definitely.
About, so that's awesome.
I'm a little leery about doing Luxor because, like I said, like we said, it does have a really dark vibe to it. I have watched.
On the flip side, that could make it a very popular episode.
Yeah, true.
Because I'm sure we are not the only ones to go, something wrong there.
I mean, there's reports that people that did die during the construction and they have not left that area, left the hotel. They're still.
And maybe they can't.
Well, yeah, they're trapped, obviously.
Right. Yeah. I think we have a hotel here in Victoria called the Grand Pacific, Hotel Grand Pacific. And it was built with some pretty heavy investment from Asian countries who have they want to protect their investment. And they brought in Feng Shui masters to ensure that it would not be haunted.
Yeah, you were actually just talking about that on your last episode.
There you go. Yeah. So I'm wondering, because of the way this hotel is built and because we know what the pyramids are for, which is probably essentially to keep the dead in, I wonder if it's just doing what it's designed to do.
It is. I mean, come on. Go outside, you have the giant sphinx that you go through. So,
yeah.
I mean,
it's interesting. Yeah. It's interesting. Yeah. Now, you had also told me about having some ghost experiences when you were in the Navy. Do you want to talk about
that?
And where were these?
I was on the East Coast. The ship, I'm going to go ahead and say the ship's name. I've told the story a few times, but I've never said the ship's name. I'm going to pop that cherry right here.
We're honored.
I was on the USS from 2003 to 2007. I was on the Kearsarge, USS Kearsarge.
Oh, okay.
It's LHD-3, basically amphibious assault ship, and we're homeported out of Norfolk.
Right.
I arrived in 2003. It flew an hour and a half in a CH-30 or CH-53 from Manama, Bahrain, to wherever the Kearsarge was floating around in the Gulf, just in time for the start of the war.
Oh,
yeah,
wonderful.
It was back in 2003 when we rolled on in, and started 10 years of God knows what that was.
Wow.
We had on board. We had the complement for the ship when the Marines came on. We had the air combat element, which was called the ACE, and then the ground combat element, which is the
Right.
grunts, recon units, scout units, stuff like that. Drop them in off the beach. They go out, do their thing, and then they come back when they're done.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say which MEU was on board. In the opening weeks of the war, we did lose 23 Marines from that MEU. So, it's that kind of thing where being home, about they shall never grow old, kind of hits home. So, but, made it through all that. 2005, I'm going to fast forward 2005, 2006. So about 2006, we had just come out of the yards. We had, done some repairs, done some upgrades, done some modifications to the ship. We were out doing shakedown, and we were taking on fuel.
Right.
We were getting refueled. And there was a small minor casualty in the berthing, which is the compartment that we slept in, or that my apartment slept in, and fuel flooded it. So we had to move out of there. And I kind of skipped over something. I got to go back.
No worries.
Yeah, so 2005, I was standing watch on the top side. Then I'll get to where we had to move. Standing watch was topside rover, which is ostensibly looking for people to attack the ship when you're in home port. So there you are. It's, you got a M16 on your shoulder and a 9mm on your hip, and you're singing songs to keep yourself awake.
Right.
Slogging around the flight deck. So I had the 8 to midnight watch this night. Came down, got done, went down, downloaded my weapons, which basically, took the magazine, made sure everything it was clear. Armory. After that, I really had to take a leak. So I dropped down a deck. I was heading aft, dropped down a deck, and thankfully, the marine berthing was open. So I went in there. Luckily, the head was open, so I went in there, did my business. As soon as my foot hit the other side of the threshold coming out of the head into the berthing, the TV went on, and I could hear people playing cards.
Right.
And, having a good time. And it was on the other side. I was on the starboard side of the ship, and because the compartment was athwart the beam, so which means it was perpendicular to the beam of the ship, the keel of the ship.
Right.
So, I, in my bravest sailor voice, I said, "Hello." I went down there to see if there was somebody down there, because the TV was on, TV playing, you hear people playing cards. Volume stayed the same as I walked down between the racks until I got there. And then it stopped. There was nobody there. The TV wasn't plugged. So, yeah, I just kind of bagged ass down to my own berth and hopped into my rack.
Yeah. That's the kind of time you go, okay, I'm leaving now.
Yeah, pulled my gray woolly up over my head and went to sleep with one eye poking out.
How old was that ship?
Come up through the deck place.
So, how old was that ship?
Ship. Oh, good Lord! She was commissioned in the early 1990s. Okay. So she's not that old.
No.
If you remember that Owen Wilson Navy pilot shot down. The name of the movie is Behind Enemy Lines.
Oh, yeah.
It was loosely based. That movie was loosely based on the Marine Corps captain, Captain Scott O'Grady, who was shot down over Serbia. And quick reaction force from the Sarge is actually the ones that went and got him, and he was brought back to the Kearsarge. So
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
that Schlock
Okay.
vest was loosely based on real events. So,
And did you have any other experiences when you're in the military with weirdly ghostly things going on?
yeah, again on the Kearsarge. Let me go ahead and go back up to what I was going to say before I actually got that part.
Sure, yeah.
Let's go back, revisit to the fuel flooding in our berthing compartment. They
Right.
realized it was going to take a while for them to be able to get cleaned up, so they all moved us up into that same berthing, that green berthing.
Right.
Just so we could have somewhere to sleep. By this time, they had
Yeah.
rehabilitated it, which means they took it down to bare metal, put new decking down, new racks, all brand
Yeah.
new.
Yeah.
And first week or so, I was okay, but like the second week, I was starting to have, like, whenever I was on duty, which is one day out of one day out of the week, I would have these horrible nightmares about being in combat. And I've never been in combat. I was one of the ones that I joined the Navy not to be in combat.
Right.
And I mean, just horrible combat in the desert. I got to the point where I would just go to my shop. I would just stay in my shop and sleep on duty days, just not to have those nightmares.
Right.
So,
and were you only having them when you're in that
only when
place?
I was in that berthing? And there was a few other people that had the same problem. Not too many others. I want to say about 4 or 5 other people out of. I want to say we had about 80, 90 people in our department.
But you weren't the only one.
Yeah, I wasn't the only one, but there was a small percentage of us that did.
That's crazy. So people who were sensitive to these kind of things were definitely being influenced by something.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
Not too long before I was going to transfer, I transferred off the ship. I heard some guys working in there, and I went in there, and there was this female second class that I knew from the smoke deck from when I smoked.
Right.
And I started asking her, I was like, hey, you shot the shit with her for a little bit. And I said, hey, have you ever experienced anything weird in here? And she just kind of gave me a look like, you too, huh?
Yeah.
She asked me, were you here for the war cruise? And I said, yeah, I was here for that. She goes, this is the berthing that those 23 guys lived in.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So, honestly, I think because more other people have, and I have talked to other people through Facebook and vet groups that were on the Kearsarge, former shipmates on the Kearsarge.
Yeah.
And they still have, people still talk about that berthing.
Wow.
So, and honestly,
that's crazy.
I think it's the last place those 23 guys felt had a good time.
Yeah, and I also think too, like we were talking about this in war, when war happens and death comes so quickly and so out of the blue, and in some ways it sounds stupid to say, but in some ways unexpectedly, that like 1 minute you're talking to your friend and the next minute they're just gone. That if you die in that way and you die that quickly and that suddenly, you may not know you're gone. So what are you going to do? Well, you're going to go back to where you were.
Exactly.
You're going to go back to what you remembered, where you just were. So it makes a lot of sense to me.
Yeah, it does to me too. Yeah. I mean, but still, it's one of those things.
Yeah. And were there any other military ones, or do you have some from when you were younger?
Oh, I got one more, but the Kitty Hawk. She's at the shipbreakers now.
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Kitty Hawk. I never saw anything on there, but I had a friend that swore up and down that it was haunted by a sailor that committed suicide, that threw himself off the side of the ship, off of the trash bunts, and I was on the starboard side of the ship. And the guys that stand lookout out there do report hearing something splashing in the water, but not seeing anything. And it's, Now, the veracity, that it could be something haunted, sorry, a haunting, or somebody sneaking throwing a trash bag out the side because
Yeah.
they forgot to take it down to the
Right.
to the compactors during trash.
Sure.
So, yeah, you never know on that one. Now, yeah, I
No.
do have one from when I was about 18, 19 years old, back in 85, 86, as I go ahead and date myself. Uh, I was the weird goth kid that hung out with the rockabillys in Southern California.
Okay. Yeah.
So go figure that one out.
Yeah.
Most of the rockabillys I hung out with, they lived in Chino and Chino Hills. This is in Southern California,
Right.
near the Orange County or San Bernardino Orange County border.
Right.
Now, we would go to this place. It was called Green Mists.
Okay.
And it was just this winding road off of Peyton. And it went up through a canyon. And it went up to a place called Rocket Dine. And Rocket Dine
Okay.
was a government contractor.
Right.
And they did rocket fuel. And later on, not too long ago, I discovered that the reason why they called it Green Mists even back in the 60s, because they would test weapons on cadavers out there, and
Right.
the explosions would cause a green mist.
Right.
So this is during the summer. I want to say 1986-ish. I was 19. And we were going up there because this is what we did. We drove up there, and it was around sunset. And the sun was still up. It was still fairly bright. And we'd driven this a whole bunch of time. I got a load of rockabillys in the car. We're listening to like Meteors or something like that. And my buddy George was sitting in the front seat. And all of a sudden he starts, "Whoa, what the hell is that? Stop, stop, stop." So we kind of pull over as best we could because it's a little 2-lane road. And we get out and we go back and we're looking down down a little slope. And there's this little cabin that we'd never seen before. Now we're talking like straight out of Little House on the Prairie here. And we're looking at it, and everything looked brand new, including the 4 graves, freshly, and they just had like the lashed together crosses. 2 were adult size, 2 were child size. And we kind of looked at it, and nobody was brave enough to go down and look at it because it was getting dark.
I certainly wouldn't be.
Yeah, so we all got back in the car, and next day, went out and did our thing, talked about it a little bit throughout the night. And next day, I was really, what the hell did we see? So we went back up there. I went and I grabbed George, and we went back up there to right where we, knew exactly where we parked. And then we walked down. We slid down the side, the little bluff to get to it. Walked around, nothing. There's no foundations, nothing like that. No foundation, nothing had ever been there. And the thing that always kind of confused me about that one was that all of that was part of the Palomares land grant from the King of Spain. Okay. And all of that was just a huge ranch by the Californios. Back before California became part of the United States. And all that. And all that was owned by one guy. There would be no settlers on that land at all. I mean, they were very territorial about that. So, I never figured it out.
I wonder, maybe it was like a ranch hand or one of his employees kind of thing or something. I mean, it sounds like a time slip to me.
I always felt that it was a time slip. But a juxtaposed time slip because, nothing else really changed. We could still see the housing developments
Sure.
That were at that time still being built. The road was still there, and it was just that one spot. It was,
Yeah.
Then at the same time, it was all cleared. The growth was cleared. But when we went back the next day, it was overgrown like nothing had ever been.
Interesting.
No foundations. I mean,
no. Well, I mean, who knows? I mean, you don't know how long back you saw. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, it could have been a long, long time. I'm just thinking about Little House on the Prairie. They showed up in certain territories, and it was like, oh yeah, the government's going to grant permission any day now, and they would build a house and they'd do everything, and then it would come through. Nope, the military's coming through to move everyone on because this is now part of a an Aboriginal reserve or whatever. And I doubt there'd be anything left, honestly.
Yeah, true.
So who knows? Who knows? But yeah, that is interesting. That's really wild.
Yeah, that was. I mean, to this day, I mean, I went back there a few times. Tried to go back there the last time I was down around that area, and they actually have it blocked off because Rocketdyne closed down years ago. And they actually have it blocked off well before the spot where we saw that at.
Right.
And actually, looking on Google Maps, that area has been developed as well. So.
Oh, interesting.
So I wonder.
It's interesting though, eh? Like sometimes you'll have something happen, and we'll go back to try and see it, or try and figure it out, and it's like nothing happened.
Yeah.
It's like there's nothing there.
Next day.
And at the time we're experiencing it, we don't realize we're experiencing something as profound as we are.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm 19 years old.
Yeah, I've definitely had that kind of experience where I don't actually realize, what I'm experiencing, and then afterwards I'm like, oh wait.
Yeah, well, for my slow self, it was decades later. It's kind of like that was right.
No, I get it. I get it. So, all right, well, thank you, Patrick.
Hey, I was something. You guys got that Tundra?
We do.
And you're saying it makes you even straighter?
I think so.
I think it makes you more bear-like.
That's a good point. It's all debadged and everything, right? So it's like super straight. Yeah. But it is jacked up and it is a 4x4. So
well, maybe if we're rolling around with like a couple giant Canadian flags off of it.
Jason did hang a rainbow Christmas ornament in the window.
That's awesome. So. That is.
Yeah, that got us some weird looks in Alberta. I'm not gonna lie.
That's so cool.
Thank you so much for speaking with me, and don't forget to email me your mailing address so I can send you your exclusive Ghosts and Bears Glow in the Dark pin that only people get when they come on the show and share where they live with us. So thank you for that.
Thank you for.
And we look forward to getting down to Vegas at some point, and we can hang out in person. You can show us the San Franciscan hotel.
Yeah, definitely.
That'd be really cool.
All right.
Thank you so much, Patrick.
All right. You too. So tell Jason I said hi.
I will. Take care. Bye.
Yeah, welcome back. Thank you, Patrick.
Thank you, Patrick. Yeah, Patrick did a great job of hunting down some spaces and talking about different places. Mm-hmm. One place he talked about, which I didn't even want to mention because I don't even like to give it airtime, is Zach Bagans' Haunted Museum.
Why?
Ugh. So, there's so many reasons why.
Tell me it isn't overdone.
Yeah, right?
Well, it's interesting.
So that place is there. We also talked about Bally's, which used to be the MGM Grand.
Yeah, former MGM Grand. I guess 85 people met their fate in this poor building. So it was rebuilt, which is good, in 85. Isn't that interesting?
And renamed Bally's.
Yeah, 85 and rebuilt in 85.
Yeah. And Patrick talked about some of the stories about that one.
Yeah.
And then I had not heard of La Palazza Mansion,
The Devil's Mansion.
Nicknamed the Devil's Mansion. It was previously owned by the notorious mob enforcer and member of the Hole in the Wall gang, Tony the Ant Spilotro.
Spilotro?
Whispers of gruesome murders and blood-spattered secret rooms have spun through the rumor mill for decades, and with such a dark past, it makes sense that plenty of spirits may still linger. Previous owners of the home claimed to have been harassed by these entities on multiple occasions, the two most noteworthy being vulgar innuendos hurled at female guests while showering, and the owner being choked by invisible hands when he provoked the ghosts after a wine glass mysteriously fell to the floor and shattered. This haunted house in Las Vegas is privately owned and close to the public, with the home's most recent purchase being in 2019 after a tumultuous time on the market.
Interesting.
Yeah. The other place was a place you and I went to.
The Mob Museum. I never went to the Mob Museum.
Oh, you didn't?
Nope.
I thought we did.
No, I didn't go there.
Oh, maybe I just went on my own. The Mob Museum was really interesting because it really does give the whole breakdown of the history of Las Vegas. Mm-hmm. How Vegas came to be and how quickly the mob moved in to control everything. And they did. It was like a one giant central clearinghouse for the mob. The Mob Museum itself is housed in the old Las Vegas courthouse. And they've got some very, very cool and important artifacts from these mobsters, which is why there's so many stories about kind of shadows and things that are in the hallways as shadow figures. Mm-hmm. Another place Patrick and I touched on but didn't really have any ghost stories for was...
Oh, the Luxor. That's an odd one. I'm not a big fan of that place.
I didn't like it either. I felt it had a
dank.
It's dank and it feels run down even though it's not that old. What I found interesting, remember when we came back to town the day after the sandstorm? Mm-hmm. And the Luxor had sand on every single black mirrored panel of the pyramid?
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting. It is, there were multiple deaths that occurred while they were building it. Some people believe that it's just the pyramid shape actually attracts dark energy. 2 guests have jumped to their deaths from the interior balconies.
Well, it's not like they can go outside. They just go slide.
They really can't. Reports of ghostly sightings on the high hotel balconies, as well as moving objects and apparitions inside the Luxor's Titanic Artifact exhibition are common. Now, I did not even know this existed, so this was news to me. The strangest sightings were during the first 3 years of the hotel's opening, when the Nile River ride was still operational. There were so many frightened guests claiming they saw ghosts within the dark tunnels that it is considered a significant reason that the ride was shut down and the canals drained only 3 years after opening.
Interesting.
Yeah. I don't know. I just know I was not a huge fan of the place and didn't like it and felt uncomfortable there, and it just felt kind of gross.
Huh. Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah. The Flamingo.
Things that make you go, huh. The Luxor. Anyways, the Flamingo. It was the pride and joy of the mobster Bugsy Siegel. I wouldn't mind being called Bugsy.
Okay, from now on, you're Bugsy Kelly.
Yeah, I'll go with that. So he decided to extend his stay indefinitely. So he's allegedly been spotted around the Garden Memorial and inside the wedding chapel and in the presidential suite, which makes sense. I mean, why wouldn't you stick around?
Well, I think it was his hotel, and he got murdered only 6 months after it's built in 1947. So he's probably pretty bitter about that.
Oh, probably. But he has golden bathroom fixtures nonetheless.
Well, why wouldn't you stay if you're going to see that? Guests in the suite say they've woken to the sounds of whispering and seen dark shadows looming at the foot of their beds. Other places in Vegas, not just, we're talking Old Town Vegas, Hotel Apache at Binion's in downtown Las Vegas has heard claims of phantom phones ringing. Guests have felt touched or pushed by invisible hands, and shadowy figures have been seen lurking down hallways. Phantom footsteps, the sounds of crying, and the apparitions of workers in old-fashioned uniforms are also common occurrences at the historic Hoover Dam. There's also the urban legend that within the concrete walls are the remains of workers that perished during construction, and they were unable to be recovered. The other thing is the Westgate Hotel claims the king himself, who?
Oh.
Elvis Presley.
Yes.
Wanders around the theater's backstage. I mean, if you're going to claim a ghost, you may as well claim one of the
why not?
Right? So that's Vegas for you. That's kind of what we ran into while looking up this episode. And as you know, this will be our second last episode of the year.
Yeah, so our last one's going to be coming up, which is our Christmas episode on YouTube. So we're excited about that.
Victorian Ghost Stories.
Yeah.
You will still be able to hear it wherever you listen to your podcast, but if you want,
You can watch it, too.
you can watch it. And I went out
We
and
have lots of cool... Well, I did.
I bought probably 2 months worth of hitting Facebook Marketplace and finding fun
I got new props and stuff from
props and
the States. So
yeah, it'll be good.
we were just there recently, so
Yeah, it was
new
really good.
tree and all this jazz.
Yeah, so you will
Jazzmatazz.
yeah, just junk. But you'll be there to see that, and we hope you enjoy that. And then we're going to be taking our break
Yeah, so
until
we'll
the
be
middle of
back
January.
18th of January
I
or
think it's
something
the
like
18th
this.
of January,
Yeah.
somewhere there.
So you have a Merry Christmas.
Yes, because we will certainly wish you that next time. But
Yeah, and a Happy New Year upcoming.
absolutely, and
But if you'd
everybody
like
should stay warm.
more episodes and you want to binge listen, you're more than welcome to subscribe as a Patreon and get access to those shows.
The Ghost Stories
And
We Have Heard episodes that
so
are
you-
only available
You
to
can
patrons.
be there, and then you can even get merch because everyone likes the merch.
It's like giving a gift to yourself, really.
It's kind of weird.
You're going to get a shirt, maybe, or a sticker,
Mug.
or a
Who
coffee
knows
mug.
such things?
We definitely get Ghost Stories We Have Heard.
Mystery gifts
And we also want to apologize
from beyond.
for our live stream. That was a bit of a...
Oh yeah, that was
Debacle.
interesting. I was laughing all the time because the video wasn't working. That video camera's terrible that we got.
Jason finally got the
Sound. I got the
sound
sound
to
to work after half an hour.
So we could
So it's just
talk,
laughing and laughing and
and
laughing.
people could write to us, but nobody could nobody could see us.
I'm just gonna blame Ian's computer. It's just
It's probably.
yeah.
I wouldn't
There's
surprise
so
me.
much stuff connected.
So we'll
to
figure
it.
that out. We'll figure that
There's
out.
like
we'll get it
50
up and running.
million USB cords connected to this thing. And it's like
50
half of
million? That's amazing.
I
Am
know,
running
it
a
is.
small country?
I'm buried in this office with all
Oh,
this stuff connected to this
Please.
machine.
Nice try. As you're the guy who set it up. That's pretty ballsy of you to say.
Oh
that's
no,
my
I didn't
fault.
set none of this up.
You set all this up.
Not that.
It's literally the only thing I have plugged into the computer.
It's so ridiculous. So yeah, on the 10th take, you just basically unplug everything and do one thing.
I just start all over.
So the rest of it, I'm just going to throw out over Christmas break.
Perfect. Sounds good to me. All right, friends. So please keep in mind patreon.com/ghosts and bears. If you'd like to help
Yeah.
us out and sponsor us, we'd be very grateful. And for those of you who have already, we're super grateful to you. And we want to
thank you
thank
very much.
Amos,
Maria,
Gina,
Elise,
Sharon,
Dawn,
Adam,
Bryce,
Sherry,
Marion,
Kathleen,
Alexa,
Debbie,
Ruth,
Mary Frances,
Sandy,
Christopher,
David,
Ashley,
Jeremiah,
Elizabeth,
BB Nix,
Melinda,
Jordan,
Tammy,
James,
Taya,
Evan,
Arwen,
Steve,
Kyle and Charlotte,
Catherine.
and Mari.
Thank you very much.
Thank
all
you
y'all.
so much. You
And
guys are amazing.
I hope your Christmas goes better than this attempt at trying to get this podcast. But it makes sense. It's just a mess, this thing.
Well, and
That
also,
explains why I couldn't get the video to work.
I
or
have
the
been
sound.
sick. I've been sick all weekend, and so we didn't get to do it.
He's
We were going to
just
do it on
sick
the
and
weekend.
tired. He is sick
and
and
we were going to do it
tired.
on the weekend, and I couldn't because I was so sick. And even now,
Just sick and
my
tired.
throat is still killing me. But I'm just, it's
We're gonna power through.
do or die, because if I don't do it now, it's not coming out on Wednesday. So thanks, guys, for sticking with us. We hope you
Yeah.
enjoyed the episode, and hopefully we will see you in 2 weeks for the video
Yeah,
episode.
that'll be a lot of fun.
It will be fun. Alex and Chris are going to help us out with that as
Thank you,
always,
Alex and Chris. Thank you, everyone.
because they're awesome.
Yes, they are. And hopefully this take works because I'm not going to do an 11th. Because that'll be the 11th hour and then we'll all be dead.
Yeah, no, I'd be done.
That would be ironic, though. The 11th hour.
Thanks for
11th
that.
take, 11th hour. Yeah. Just try and piece together nonsense, I guess. But I am going to be tearing apart this thing
All right,
this
friends.
weekend.
Thank you
and
so
throwing
much.
half of it in the garbage.
And hopefully one day soon, you will know that when you are out and about talking about podcasts, you will remember that Ghosts and Bears is the only podcast that gives you the actual ghost story
with the actual history of the 20th time over.
from the actual place. And hopefully one day soon, that place will be.
With you.
Take care, guys.
After the 100th time.
Bye.
Bye.